Hi, I'm Dr. Nilam Khurana, and I wanted to talk to you about discipline. This is something that I mentioned at the 2 to 3 year video, and really it's something that you're supposed to be starting prior. So in case we haven't really approached that subject prior in office visits, or you haven't spoken to your pediatric provider in those office visits, I want you to realize again their social emotional development, and that they understand totally when they are doing something that's wrong, and they need to help us direct them. So discipline isn't like, oh, you're a bad kid. Discipline is, as human beings, we are manipulative creatures. We are going to get what we want unless we actually are put in our place. And so being put in our place means knowing that, well, we're not solo in this world doing whatever we want to. We're living within a culture, we're living within a group of people, and so we need to be able to balance things, and everything doesn't get done the way we want it to be done. So if we are wanting something right at that moment and not having the patience to wait for it, we need to learn, well, you know what, that's just not the way life is. So that's when we really start with that discipline. And so 15 to 18 months is usually when I say to start. Now, there's different things out there that people say to start at 2. I personally feel that the terrible 2s are there because they have already gotten away with so much by the time that they're 2, that they really think that they can do whatever they want to. And it's just harder than if you wait until 2. But by 15 to 18 months, they know it all. They figured it all out. They figured out how to work you, and you just need to give them the right guidance so that they don't take advantage. So remembering, most important, is that if you are telling them no, or you can't do this, or anything negative, you have to have at least 3 times as much positive, at least 3 times as much praise. So really throughout the day, when you're talking to them and letting them know when they've done good things, they're learning from that. They are learning a lot from that. And if you don't give them that positive reinforcement, then they're not gonna be as focused or able to listen to that when you're saying, no, don't do that. Because then they're gonna feel like, well, everything is no. There's no, hey, good job. So, and then what I usually say is, I like the 1, 2, 3 magic. There's a book actually called 1, 2, 3 magic. They don't start it until 2, but I started at 15 to 18 months. And so again, they have to be developmentally 15 to 18 months, which means they're understanding everything. They're saying at least a few words, but they're understanding like simple one-step directions. They're understanding when you say we're gonna go to the park and they get their shoes and they meet you at the door. They're really comprehending everything. Then you can tell them, okay, this is not okay. So I like to do the 1, 2, 3. 1 is, this is a warning. 2 is, you're on your way to timeout. And 3 is, timeout. And so you can explain it to them. Again, they understand all of this. If they don't understand it, they're not developmentally ready for this level of discipline. And you also should be talking to your provider to see why they're not understanding this. Usually when I talk to parents at their 18-month visit, and parents are complaining if they're naughty, these kids get it all. They're looking at me and they're inside, they're squirming as they're like, oh my gosh, she knows and she's telling my parents. So they totally get it, and they stare at me and a mom, and me and a mom, or the dad, and they're just like, wait a second, is she really telling them to do this? So they totally get it. If they don't totally get it, it's too early. But then, so what would make you do the 1, 2, 3, right? It can't be, you can't, touch that remote control or something like that. It has to be more like they're climbing onto something that's gonna be dangerous if they fall, or they're getting ready to do something that could harm themselves or harm others. That's when usually we try to do the 1, 2, 3. Otherwise, we want to redirect them. We want to give them that positive reinforcement. We want to distract them. There's so many other ways to get them away from things that are things you don't want them to do. And then as long as you give them the positive reinforcement on those things, they do really well. Now, the other thing that I usually say is automatic timeout is if they're biting or like kicking to hurt or throwing things to hurt, then I say just do automatic timeout. And they get it. because they're already having a temper tantrum that's caused them to do that, and they know they've done wrong. And so it's pretty straightforward for them. So then how do you do timeout? Like some parents will say, where do I put them? Do I put them in their crib? Do I put them somewhere else? Usually we don't want to associate timeout with their calm place, right? So they're going to their crib to sleep, or their toddler bed, or their room, or whatever, and that's their calm place. So we don't want them to be associating I'm punished with that calm place. So usually I say to do either like a playpen that they're not using anymore and have it in a certain area of the house, and have them sit in there for a timeout. I personally did timeout at the kids facing the wall. And so this sounds crazy. And so the way I recommend doing this, and the reason I recommend doing this, is because kids are smart and they know if you put them in that playpen at home and you're at the grocery store and they want candy, there's no playpen there and they can throw their little temper tantrum. But if there's a wall in a parking lot, it's called the car. There's a wall in every store, there's a wall everywhere. So if you feel like your child can comprehend this level, then I usually say, have them face the wall for timeout. So what do? So you put them, what is timeout first? Timeout means you are not providing them any positive reinforcement for the bad behavior that they've done, which means no eye contact, no words. Some kids thrive on being told, oh, you're such a naughty boy, and blah, 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 and getting this huge lecture. So no words, no communication. They just want your attention and love. And so any way that they get attention could be considered positive reinforcement for them. So you need to make sure that timeout is, you are going here for however many seconds, right? Initially, they say a minute per age. So, but you can't even do a minute at 15 to 18 months. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna say, okay, you're in timeout. And so what I did with my girls is I took them, I put them facing the wall, I put my hand on their back, and then I turned around and I didn't say anything, I didn't look at them. They squirm out 3 seconds later, about 3 times is when I would do it. I put them back, turn around, they're screaming, they're squirming, maybe 3rd time. And so your hand on their back, obviously not forcefully, to help them stay where they're supposed to stay. And then you're turning away, showing them, I'm not gonna talk to you, I'm not gonna look at you. And then they know that they're not getting what they need. And then they apologize. If they can't even say sorry, they're gonna come up to you and they're gonna hug you and you're gonna tell them that wasn't a good choice. Mommy or daddy didn't like that and I don't want you to do that again. And I'm telling you, within a couple of weeks, if you're consistent, my second one, she started walking to the wall when she was in trouble, when she knows she'd done something wrong, even before I said 2. If I said 1, she would be like, oh, I did a bad move, and she would start walking to the wall. So again, they'll learn really quickly. If they're not able to learn that developmentally, remember, then we need to look at their developmental milestones and not make them feel like they're being punished for something that they don't even understand. So that's extremely important. You need to know what your child's developmental stage is and whether or not they can understand what you're teaching them. Otherwise, they're just not going to get it and you're going to be creating more trauma in them. So making sure that you know how to understand where they are developmentally. Look back at some of the videos. If you don't know, ask your pediatric provider, because you need to make sure that they're really understanding what's going on. And then they will just, everything will kind of fall into line. And again, most important reminder is they say 3 times as much positive. So all day they have so many amazing things that they're doing and so many milestones they're achieving. So you just keep providing them the positive. And if you do that, you're gonna be saying much more than 3 times as much positive compared to the negative that you have to tell them. Because again, you're gonna be telling them the positive, you're gonna be distracting them, redirecting them, and that's not gonna be a negative. So when you get to the no's and the, timeout or the 1, 2, 3, that's gonna be a small part of the day. But some kids initially, for that first couple of weeks when you started, it's a lot. But then within a couple of weeks, as long as everyone in the household, every caregiver is consistent, they'll get it. And then after that, it'll be a lot easier. So, and typically, again, it's 1 minute per age of life. So 1 minute for a 1-year-old, 2 minutes for a 2-year-old. And it's gonna be more of, as they get older, they can after you're done, they can tell you, you can have a conversation with them and say, Mommy wasn't happy about that, or Daddy wasn't happy about that. What do you say? What do you do? And they can start saying things back to you so that they can learn from the experience, and it's not just like, I'm ignoring you, I'm not giving you what you wanted. They have to take from that and have a conversation with you and communicate with you why that happened, and you can help them understand what to do next time so that it doesn't happen again. And then if your child is doing well developmentally and they're, you know, understanding this process, it's going to be huge. It's going to help you so much, because they will now learn, oh, the world doesn't revolve around me. I can't just do whatever I want to. I have guidance that I have to follow, and that's life. We all have to follow guidance. We can't just go rogue and do whatever we want to if we want to live with other human beings. We have to follow guidance. We have to stay within certain lines so that we keep ourselves safe and we keep others safe, and we do what we need to do for our bodies and our minds. So that's the big stuff on the discipline. I hope that helped you guys, and thanks for listening again.